The Ivinsons coming to Laramie was serendipitous. The fact that they helped to create this community was very much serendipity.
The first word is usually wow. You know, people are not expecting this real showplace on frontier town. You know, if they know anything about Laramie's history, they know of us as a wild, open western town, and to have a place that is this grand is quite a shock. And it is, I think it does go way beyond expectations for most guests.
Well, this is a front gable shotgun. These houses are part of a historic district called Bath Row. Well, the stonemason's name was Theodore Bath. He was one of 3 brothers. So they built houses for railroad employees, usually single railroad men. The entire cost for these houses was $600.
He was secretary of the territory, I believe, and then when Wyoming became a state, he was acting governor, and he got that news while he was here in the home, in the house. And then he went on to be superintendent of Yellowstone. You know, when my father, he was going to restore one of the original fireplaces. It was 2 stories of an ash heap. So in that ash heap, he found all these little interesting things. That's what this box is, of all these things that people had thrown away, like these china. There was little pieces of china. And here is, for a piano, this 1898. And then some pipe cleaners. There's a concert for John Wetzel in Denver, and it's in March 9th, 1897. It's a piano recital, I think.
Sold me on it was, I just liked the looks of it. It was a bit like the house I grew up in. I liked houses where you go upstairs to go to bed. All the bedrooms are upstairs. I liked the location. You know, I've been able to walk to work in 3 minutes for my whole career. He was chairman of the journalism department. I think he came here to start that department up, and they bought this house in '46, right after the war. Historic district, I thought, bingo, it's all coming home. You know, it's perfect. If I never would have dreamed of it originally, but if I had a dream, that would have been it. Yeah.
We always thought it'd be great to own an old house. And little did we know the responsibility of owning an old house. Victorian was coming to an end as craftsman style was starting to become more popular. So I kind of always look at the house as kind of the step between. A carpenter liked the craftsman style, but he was building a 2-story home and used to building Victorian. So, damn, they don't build houses like this anymore. I mean, the 2x4s are a true 2x4. And the fir ages, it gets denser as it ages. So even nails are harder to hammer into fir because it's just so dense. But every time we open these wells, every single time, my father-in-law or my dad or my husband are just like, dang, look at this, look at this lumber. They don't build homes with this kind of wood anymore.
No, it was built between 1888 and 1889 by Walter Ware. He was the architect. It was built for C.P. Arnold and his wife. And C.P. came to Laramie as a young boy, and on one of the first trains in the late 1860s. His wife apparently came on the very first train with her father. They met, they married in 1887, and they bought this lot that same year.
We know through Pete and Lynn Simpson, who are friends of ours and who lived in the home too, that they were very social and threw very colorful parties. And that's why Lynn decided to live in the home, is that she heard all these stories from Mrs. Arnold, and so she and Pete decided that they would then move into the home. Pete and Al are folk heroes to us in Wyoming. We love them, the two brothers.
Al Simpson, of course, is a U.S. Senator. Pete Simpson is a Wyoming Senator. Their father, Millward Simpson, was governor in Wyoming in the 1950s. We've loved moving into this house. Walk to work. I just walk down Ivinson.
Yeah.
Our daughter goes to school at lab school at UW.
I really love being a block from campus.
It's wonderful.
That's a blessing.
We've had family living in here all except for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been family members living here. Well, there was the story of great-grandpa when he became the sheriff, or actually it was during, I think, when he was deputy sheriff still. He hadn't taken over for the sheriff yet, but he had actually, there was a prisoner that the whole town was going to lynch, and they were, in an uproar because this guy had murdered someone, and so they were going to lynch him. And so, thinking on the justice side, my great-grandfather hid him in our cellar, and this cellar, yeah. And then he escaped. He got him over to in the middle of the night over to Cheyenne, and
he took him in a horse and buggy by way of Rogers Canyon Road, over back way. Yeah.
So he wasn't lynched.
My name's Marie Anderson. I am almost 9 years old. The house was built by Wilbur Hitchcock, and it was built for the third president, Charles O'Merica, third president of the University of Wyoming.
I'm Ann Mullins Belter, and Wilbur Hitchcock was my grandfather, my mother's father. Really, in Laramie, he started designing homes first when he was an undergraduate, and then became a designer of university buildings too.
Craftsmen look like they have pointy roofs, and they've got pillars, big pillars.
I've heard, and it makes sense to me in all kinds of ways, that it was a Sears Roebuck house. And so the by whom is sort of a sense of a time period almost. I've seen the Sears Roebuck history of these packages you bought from a catalog, and you get like a street in Illinois, and there are like 5 houses built from the Sears catalog, and it seems pretty likely to me that that's where this gets a lot of its elements. It has this beautiful bay, and since it's southern, the sun just pours in. And those leaded glass tops, both on that dining room window and on the living room window and on the porch window, they're all original. In general, to take advantage of all this and not keep on throwing it away and drawing on old forest for new houses that maybe you don't need if you don't tear down the old ones.
Really, early on, I was inspired by Winston Churchill's remark that we shape our buildings and afterwards our buildings shape us.
It's important for kids to learn about history because, like, when they get older, they can tell their kids about it, and it's kind of neat. It's neat to know about where we came from.
And so you really couldn't build this house again these days. Just finding the materials would just about be impossible. So, and then inside of the house are all those stories and all that integrity that is built in the history, and we can't just let that go. I mean, that's what I think.
The obvious thing, when we're gone, no one will know these stories. And it's important to share these stories. It's important to learn where Laramie came from and the people that made Laramie what it is today.